In order to make one Sawtooth Star quilt block, and this is a finished size of 12 inches, you will need one of A, 6.5 inches by 6.5 inches, B, 7.25 by 7.25, C, 4 inches by 4 inches, and D, 3.5 inches by 3.5 inches. So in order to make the Sawtooth Star quilt block, you'll need one piece of A, one piece of B, 4 pieces of C, and 4 pieces of D. So let's get started on making our Sawtooth Star quilt block. So fabric A is for the centre of our Sawtooth Star quilt block. So for fabric B, for our Sawtooth Star quilt block, we're going to cut into 2 diagonals. We're going to use our cutting mat as well. And we're going to follow this diagonal. So we're going to cut this diagonal across. And then I'm going to do it. It's not going to quite match because and then we're just going to cut it down. So just follow these corners and cut it in them diagonal sections, and you'll end up with 4 pieces of B. So I'm just going to keep my post-it with my pieces. Now with C, we're just going to cut it diagonally across. Just make sure you line it up. And I'm going to do that with all of these C sections. So we are going to cut this across. And guys, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I have over 300 videos on my channel, and they are all sewing or quilting related. There'll be nothing on that channel that you won't find helpful. Every single video on my channel is very helpful if you enjoy sewing and quilting. So that is all of the C cut. And I'm just going to keep my post-it on there so I remember which one's which. And D doesn't get cut. It stays exactly how it is. For the next stage of our Sawtooth Star quilt block, we are going to make flying geese. And we're going to be making these flying geese with B and C. I will be using my Baby Lock Soprano, and in the top of my thread I will use a regular polyester white thread. In my bobbin will be a regular white thread and also a 9014 Microtex sewing needle. I also like to sew with my 1/4 inch foot width guide. Place a section B face up, and then I'm going to place a section C face down, and then making sure that this part down here aligns with the bottom of B. And then I'm going to sew all the way up here. Now you'll open this out and press. Place another section C on top of the section B, and we are going to sew along, and this will create our flying geese block. So once you open it out, this is what it will look like. So we have to do this another 4 times. So we'll go ahead and do this 4 times and then get on with the rest of making our Sawtooth Star quilt block. On the ends of every single one of these is what they call dog ears, and you just want to get your rotary cutter and just take these off just so it's nice and tidy. So for the next part of the Sawtooth Star quilt block, this is what it's going to be like. So you're going to just start sewing the rows together. Now just make sure that you have this section going right way round, because I actually thought I'd made a mistake for a second, but I had it the wrong way round. So these pieces want to be like so. So you're either going to sew these sections together first, or you can sew these sections together first. As long as you do that, and then we'll move on to the next part of our Sawtooth Star quilt block. So just for the record, I am going to just sew across first for the pieces of our Sawtooth Star quilt block. I've pressed all of my pieces, and now we can join the rest of the Sawtooth Star quilt block, both here and here. So this is what the Sawtooth Star quilt block looks like once it's finished. Now this looks very plain in the middle, and it was very intentional because I am going to place something in the middle here. Now I'm not quite sure I'm going to do an applique or some iron on vinyl. I'm going to have a look in my Cricut Maker right now, and no, this is not sponsored. No part of this video has been sponsored. So I am going to find something to fill this center square of this Sawtooth Star quilt block. So I've decided on some wording, so I'm just going to take this off my mat, and then what I'll need to do is weed this off the mat, and basically I'll take all the pink stuff off, and then what I'll be left with is all of my wording. So I decided on some lettering. I should have used some darker lettering because you can't quite see it. If you can see what it reads, write it in the comment box down below. This is what the finished Sawtooth Star quilt block looks like. I went ahead and I am just going to have it as a wall hanging, and I basically put a piece of batting in the middle here, and then I went around and I did the stitch in the ditch on the quilting here just to keep everything all in place, and then I went ahead and did some quilt binding. If you want to know how to do quilt binding, I have videos on my YouTube channel, and with that, don't forget to subscribe. I have over 300 videos on my channel right now, and there is going to be something for you on that channel. So don't forget to subscribe, like this video, comment, and don't forget, if you can read what this says, put that in the comment box down below. Thank you so much for watching. Bye bye guys.